Hello everybody. So last time we went over FIFO, LIFO, weighted average. This week I did two separate videos, and the reason being is I was exhausted after explaining FIFO, LIFO, weighted average, and I'm sure you would be in watching that. So I broke this up. This problem, the next part of it on problem 6-62A, is going to ask us to complete the Navy surplus income statement for July. Okay, and it's also going to ask us to report gross profit. It gives us operating expenses total $3,250, and it tells us the company uses the average costing for inventory. So it's not going to ask for FIFO, LIFO. It's only going to ask for average costing, and the income tax rate is 40%. So let me turn to the board. It's only asking for weighted average. So weighted average, the cost of goods sold is $5,000. So I'm going to erase all this so I don't confuse you. Okay, and I'm going to keep weighted average. Oh, these markers, kind of a pain. All right, and I can erase ending inventory. Here's why. It's asking for an income statement. We only need the piece that affects the income statement. The piece that affects the income statement is cost of goods sold. That's why I said it's very important you understand the difference between cost of goods sold or ending inventory. And if you don't, then you'll get your income statement incorrect. Okay, so weighted average, the cost of goods sold is $5,000. I'm just going to kind of write that number to myself so I remember it. So COGS is $5,000. Okay, so over here, I am going to show you how you're going to do your income statement when you work in the lab. Well, just like your first exam, how do you do an income statement? What's on it? Sales minus expenses. Well, this is going to ask you to break out gross profit. How do you do gross profit? Sales minus cost of goods sold equals gross profit. So let's do that piece first. Okay, so we're going to start over here, and the name of it is Camp Surplus. Okay, what's it called? It's called an income statement. Okay, what's the date? The date is month ended. March 31st, 2016. Okay. All right, so I look back at the problem, and again, my first item on my income statement will always be sales. All right, so we've been doing this all along. We knew how many units we sold. Well, we sold 250 units. The next thing I look at the problem, and I look to find out the sales price for the unit. So I look in the book, and I see the sales price of each stove was $52. Well, so how do you figure it out? You're going to take in your calculator. You're going to take 250 times 52, what they sold it for per unit. And when you do that, 200 times 52, that will equal 13,000. The next piece will be your cost of goods sold. You can call it COGS, okay? On the exam, you can call it COGS. When you work in the lab, you'll do the drop-down window and you'll pick cost of goods sold. But COGS, you've already derived. Well, we derived that together. We derived it for weighted average of 5,000. Now, we're not going to use the 1,000. Why? Because the 1,000 is related to ending inventory. That's not on your income statement. Where would the 1,000 appear? It would appear on the balance sheet. Well, we're not doing a balance sheet. We're doing an income statement. So I go over here and I put in 5,000 for COGS. Now I figure out the gross profit. How do I do that? I'm going to take the sales minus cost of goods sold, and that will give me my gross profit. When I do that, 13,000 minus 5,000 gives me 8,000. Okay? Gross profit, one more time, sales minus cost of goods sold. Completely separate. Companies want to see cost of goods sold separately. Why? They want to see what it's costing them to make that product or to sell that product. So the next item, I look at the book and I look for operating expenses. Well, that will be my next item that I will subtract. I label it operating expenses. And I put in what the publisher said, the exact number. They said it was $3,250. I don't have to figure that out. Okay, so $3,250. The next item that I'm going to figure out is income before income tax. How do I do that? Well, I'll take the 8,000, I'll subtract out the 3,250, and that gives me 4,750. Next, I look in the problem. What are they saying the income tax rate is? And they're saying it's 40%. So this is going to be my income tax expense. Okay, so my calculator I would get, I'm going to take 4,750. I multiply that number by 40%, and that gives me 1,900. So 1,900. Okay? Draw a line. Now I'm finally there. Okay? The last item that I'm going to figure out is my net income. So look how I do that. I take my income before tax, 4,750. I subtract out the tax, and I come down to 2,850. And that's the last part of the problem. That's number 3. That's how you figure out the income statement. Okay? All right, good luck in the lab.